And back in. So, what we have to do for this next chapter, obviously because of where we saved and the weird structural stuff with the end of last chapter, there's no interlude per se. Instead, I'm just going to go and buy a couple of things in the shop, and then we'll go to the we'll go to the other end of this sentence. We'll go to the last heart pillar. And then we'll go to the chapter. So what we had with the last chapter was a quite definite and deliberate structural break in the game. We got halfway through the second chapter, and then the kind of four-part chapter structure was abandoned, which was interesting and compelling, and it allowed the game to do some things with kind of game rhetoric, with the whole, we went to the land of game overs, not the land where games are over, which was great, and unfortunately this chapter is now going to ruin it by having us go back there, which has the effect of naturalising it, making it no longer I think it defines it as something that was about the artificiality of a game environment, but I suppose the flip side of that is that it didn't do a very good job of being about that artificiality, with the exception of, you know, one decent joke maybe. Oh yeah, Tippy is still remembering that Bleck is Bloomier, slowly. So, with this chapter we have a naturalisation of something that otherwise was drawing attention to some of the artificiality present, which has definitely been this game's... this game has been interesting best when it's engaged with that artificiality, although I don't think it's ever been revolutionarily good. But interestingly, what it trades it for in this chapter is a more RPG-like kind of storytelling. And you know, you'll see what I mean when we get there. And again, it doesn't do a good job of it, but it's nice to have that structure still exist in the game. The other thing is that this chapter is quite long. It has a lot of very large areas to it. We're up to the last door, we're nearly finished. There is a whole chapter after this one, but there's only one. So this is an interesting screen, because we didn't get this when we arrived here last time, but the nature of the shapes, because they kind of look like glitch art, really brings out the idea that this space, we're back in the underwear, by the way, that's a sentence you want to say carefully, really brings out the idea of this as a kind of gamey space. But now it's also just a level of the game. Fortunately, Luigi makes this space. Oh, come on, Luigi. In theory, Luigi makes this space a lot quicker. It is still quicker than it would have been flopping around with Mario, but and Luigi also makes crossing the sticks a lot quicker. Because while you're jumping you move at walk speed, and Luigi gets more airtime than Mario does. So we can get back to the Queen rather quicker. She didn't notice this before at all, of course. Even though we turned up with a pure heart. And she gave it to us. So that is sort of foreshadowing. Anyway, there's a monster on the way back to the over there. And it gives us something to do to characterise our journey there, which I suppose is nice, although it does mean more Love Bee. Sorry, I'm being distracted by some kids messing around outside my window. Bless them. Anyway, Love Bee teases Tippy in a way that is presumably supposed to be charming, but really kind of isn't. I don't know, maybe I just don't care enough about the characters. So at least that was quick. You'd think they'd have found some sort of pun for the name, but no, it's just Underwear Road. Anyway, we're supposed to be escorting her, but she pisses off on her own for some reason. Anyway, it's dark in here, and we get this rather good scribbly effect. A problem with Luigi's movement, he does get the higher jumps, and those are good. But a problem with his movement is... I've just spotted something over there I wanted to check. A problem with his movement is he gets a lot more inertia after any like that, you see. It's very easy to slide off the edges of platforms. Also, these flip things are still really incongruous to me. As a kind of spatial mediation. And here's a door that won't open unless we do this. So the door is live and it's going to set us tasks. Specifically, it's going to ask us some questions. Fortunately, the questions aren't terribly hard. And I think the clues don't actually make sense, like the factual setups don't make any sense. However, on this third one, it's not quite a joke in the same way. But since the answers are consistent every time, provided I don't mash, I get the right answers. Anyway, this is where the monster is. Can you guess who the monster is going to turn out to be? It's Bowser. Poor Bowser. And we're going to do the same trick again here. Because this fight is a colossal pain in the arse, otherwise Bowser has a really small hitbox. They keep pushing this like underwear angle, even though it clearly is. It's an integrated area with the rest of the world. And now we have to do a bunch of platforming as Bowser, because he's the one who can light torches. We don't have to use him, I suppose, but he also has the advantage that he's better at destroying the skeletons than anyone else. Get out of the way, thank you. I'm being really careful because this is a tedious staircase. And you can be knocked all the way down to the bottom of it. And I'm not trying to be terribly precise here, because these are time-limited coins. You just gotta run and grab as many of them as you can. And again, Luigi is the fast option because he gets more vertical movement per unit horizontal movement. And here's a second door, who also wants to ask us questions. But these are image-based questions, or animation-based questions. I don't actually know if the animations are random or not. The questions are the same every time. And this bastard makes you do all the questions before he'll give you the results. Which means you have to do the whole session and then repeat the whole thing if you get one wrong. Which has clearly been a deliberate choice, but maddening is what it is. There's a nice nod there to brain training. And now for a particularly stupid symptom of this game's worst vices. We have to do a task for this woman, so that she will give us the key to that other locked door. And she does teleport us to the guy, but if you don't recognise this spot, we're back right at the start of the Underwear Road. So now, we have to do this whole cussed thing again. Get up there, Bowser. And I'm using Bowser just because that means I don't have to worry about the lights going out on me. I do like the darkness effect in this game, but I'd rather be able to see where I was going. Generally, I prefer having a lot of screen space where I can. There is a second errand you can do for which you get a hint about beating the next boss, which is useless to me because I don't have the right pixel. Which that one takes you back to the guy just before this room. So in total, if you do both, you end up climbing this entire pointless ass staircase. Go away. Thank you. But yeah, you end up climbing this room 3 times. There's also a third task you can do in the pink room, which is just listening to the third witch. But there's nothing particularly funny about it, so I'm not going to bother. Let's make sure we don't have to do that again. Whoops. Oh, come on. Right, here's Dogai 3, and he doesn't ask us questions. I don't know what that transition was supposed to be when they appeared, but with the screen shatter. But we have bona fide turn-based combat. Which fortunately means I don't have to jump in the right places or anything. There is a pixel that you can get that makes music, but I don't know where you get it from, so I haven't got it. And if you use that pixel here, they go to sleep. But given that I can one-shot the heads and they only do 3 damage a round, it's not a big ask to just beat them. I don't know what happens if you level up during that fight. But that takes us out of the underwear. Another sentence you want to be careful about saying.